Space. The final frontier. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? MT, recording what is quite possibly the most uncomfortable and sketchy video I've ever done. It's in my car. It is so dark I had to turn this flashlight on, but such is the way of the future. And I think my author of choice would be very proud. Isaac Asimov, the author of over 350 books in the science fiction realm. And this is Foundation, the first. I can't believe I finally got to read a full Asimov book. I'm so excited. I read Nightfall when I was in college, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. One of the best short stories I've ever read. It's incredible, and it's very popular. His Foundation series is just about equally popular. People really seem to like it. It's a cult classic, and I understand why, even though I'm only into the first book. So the immediate comparison I want to draw is to Ursula Le Guin. Rest in peace, we just lost a legend. Love you. Your books were incredible. I remember all of the ones I've read, and I've reviewed a couple of them on this channel, or done book talks rather. I know I don't like that word review. So I want to do a quick comparison. I noticed that for Le Guin, she tends to write more about the individual and society. Let me turn my car off. There we go. Save some gas. Again, my science fiction authors would be proud that I'm concerned with the ecosystem. But Le Guin writes about the individual and about their exploration and their growth in a way, which I love. Don't get me wrong. City of Illusions was fantastic. It was a great book to start this project off on. Foundation focuses more on the society, as does much of Asimov's work, as I'm thinking Nightfall as well. I've read a couple of his other short stories. But what is really great about Foundation is its premise. And there are a couple things that go into the premise. And I think you have to understand the context from which this book came up. It was written in about 1951. And there's a focus on nuclear power as a commodity, as a trade item. Except in a society that is millenniums apart from ours in the future, where all of these different planets and societies are connected in a string, in a galaxy, under one imperial empire. And the book takes some of its inspiration from the Roman Empire. From what I understand, it's actually based on some legislation or treaties. I don't remember exactly. I'll put it in a little title here. But there's a big focus on how societies interact, except placed on planets instead of as neighboring countries. And while that sounds, interesting enough, what really drives it home is this idea about a foundation that is set up to preserve the legacy of humanity. There's one guy in the beginning who is a staple for the rest of the book. His name is Harry Sheldon, and he's a psychohistorian, and he accumulates a massive following of people. And he becomes pointed at as a figure who's a threat to the empire, to the imperial empire. And his project is, first off, in psychohistory, he can foretell the history of the future generations of humanity. And his major prophecy is that humanity doesn't stand a chance. Not only will they, first off, enter an age of barbarism, they won't leave it for 30,000 years. And his idea is that by establishing a foundation of the achievements of humanity, they can maybe not get rid of the era of barbarism, but at the very least reduce it to a mere 1,000 years. And what you see happen is he gets exiled to the planet Terminus, which is pretty much our version of Pluto. It's just a tiny planet with not much on it. And he establishes the first foundation there. And where the book gets fascinating is that you see the progress of the foundation in sections. So the book is split into 4 quadrants, or 4 underlying chapters, which have miniature chapters. I don't know how to phrase that better. But what I like about that is that you see the foundation in different stages of the development. So you see literally people working in this kind of librarian sense when other societies, these barbaric societies, are threatening to take over. And it's really just a fascinating journey of the legacy of the people who were put in place to try and almost solve Selden's riddle in a way. How do we preserve these our society? And it takes several angles. One is religion as a model, and then exploring the scientific model, and then exploring political models, because the initial mission is just preserve the foundation, preserve the imperial empire for the empire. But the people on the foundation need to recognize and prioritize exactly what they have to do. And what you see is the establishment of the foundation. You see an era of the foundation discovering itself. You see more of a militaristic foundation, and you also see a mercantile economy for the foundation. And I feel like describing it, I'm not doing it justice, because there's so many levels to it where it's just fascinating to see what they do, the politics and the proverbs. So one of the major proverbs that resonated with me is that, here's the quote, and it comes up like twice: violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. And it's a political ideal that you shouldn't have to rely on violence. Like, only the incompetent go straight to violence. And when you see some of the ways that the savvy political leaders of the foundation take advantage of, I don't want to say their bartering skills, but at least their forethought. Not all of them know psychohistorics. In fact, I don't think there's anyone that fully grasps it. But when you can see the people who are really playing the political battlefield, that's where the book is fascinating. Seeing how they overcome the odds in the face of a barbaric empire that's got them at their throats, or in the face of people who are obsessed with riches, and seeing exactly what they can come up with. It does take some suspension of disbelief. I mean, the minute that the first guy gets on the planet, there's like billions of people, and it's like in a subterranean environment. So, I mean, you're kind of walking into the fantastic here. But in some respects, it's really not that far separated from our own reality. And I think that's what I like most about it, is that even though this is almost 70 years old, the book still feels like it strikes a chord, and it doesn't feel old. It feels like it could have been written today. Except, I don't know that modern authors would look to nuclear power as a commodity. But in any case, it is a fantastic read, and I'm sure it's going to be, or I'm sure that this is a great start to what is going to be an even greater series. It's actually part of a quadrilogy. So next up, I've got Foundation and Empire. I've got 2 of the books in addition to this one, so I'll keep you posted. But ladies and gentlemen, that was my February book, Foundation. In my eyes, this is a must-read. Terrific. See you later with more book talks to come.